Do you ever wonder what it's really like at the very end? We spend so much time avoiding the thought of death, especially as we get older, almost as if thinking about it might somehow bring it closer. But what if not thinking about it actually makes it more frightening when the time comes? There's a quiet anxiety that many people carry, a fear of the unknown, of what the final chapter truly holds, particularly after you've lived a long, full life past 75. It can feel like a subject whispered about, full of myths and misconceptions, leaving you feeling unprepared and maybe even a little scared. But understanding can bring peace. In this video, we're going to gently pull back the curtain on some hidden truths about death after 75. Things that aren't often talked about openly, but are so important for every senior to know. Stick with me until the end, because what you learn might not only surprise you, but bring a real sense of calm and clarity to your own journey. Let's start by talking about what many people fear most: discomfort and pain. Society often paints a picture of the end of life being a difficult, painful struggle. We see dramatic movie scenes or hear distressing stories, and it's natural for that to plant seeds of worry. But here's the first hidden truth, and it's one that can bring immense relief for most people, especially with the right care. The physical process of dying after 75 is often a gradual winding down, not a sudden, agonizing event, and discomfort can usually be managed effectively. This is where something called palliative care or hospice care comes in. And frankly, it's one of the most misunderstood and underutilized resources available. People sometimes hear hospice and think it means giving up, that it's only for the very last days or weeks. But that's simply not true. Hospice care is about focusing on comfort, dignity, and quality of life during the final stages of a serious illness. It can begin much earlier than you might think, sometimes months, providing support not just to the person who is ill, but to their family as well. Instead of focusing on trying to cure an incurable condition, the focus shifts entirely to making sure you are as comfortable as possible. Managing pain, nausea, shortness of breath, and any other symptoms. And they are incredibly good at it. Teams of doctors, nurses, social workers, and even spiritual advisors work together to address every aspect of your well-being: physical, emotional, and spiritual. Knowing this, truly understanding that there are dedicated professionals whose sole purpose is to ensure your comfort and peace, can take away a huge amount of fear about the physical process. It means you don't have to suffer unnecessarily. It means your final days or weeks can be spent with dignity, surrounded by loved ones, with your physical needs expertly cared for. Think about it. Wouldn't you rather have a team focused entirely on your comfort and allowing you to simply be with your family, rather than being in and out of hospitals with aggressive treatments that might no longer be beneficial? This shift in focus is a profound truth that isn't widely understood, and it changes everything about approaching the end of life with less fear and more peace. It's not about giving up. It's about choosing comfort and quality of life when quantity is no longer possible or desirable. This understanding is so empowering, and it leads beautifully into the next hidden truth, which is about the emotional and spiritual journey at the end of life. Moving on from the physical, let's explore the emotional landscape. Many people, even those who have lived long, fulfilling lives, carry a deep-seated fear of dying. This fear can be about the unknown, about leaving loved ones, or about pain, as we just discussed. But here's the second hidden truth, one that often surprises people. You might not be afraid at the very end, even if you fear death now. Acceptance and even periods of peace are surprisingly common final stages. Our emotional needs and perspectives can shift dramatically as we approach the end. The things that seem so important throughout life, achievements, possessions, even daily worries, often fade in significance. What comes to the forefront are relationships, love, forgiveness, and finding meaning in the life that has been lived. For many, there's a natural process of reviewing their life, reflecting on experiences, and coming to terms with what has been. This isn't always easy. There can be regrets or sadness, but there is also often a powerful sense of looking back with gratitude and finding a sense of completion. This review can be a deeply personal process, sometimes shared through stories and memories with loved ones, sometimes happening quietly within. As physical energy wanes, emotional and spiritual awareness can sometimes sharpen. People might feel a stronger connection to their beliefs, whatever they may be, or find comfort in simple moments of connection with family. The fear that seemed so large earlier can often lessen as the reality becomes less abstract and more about the present moment. It's not uncommon for people to experience moments of profound peace, even in the midst of physical decline. They might talk about seeing loved ones who have passed, or express a readiness to let go. This isn't necessarily mystical. It can be a natural psychological and spiritual unfolding. The hidden part of this truth is that we rarely talk about this potential for peace and acceptance. Society often focuses on the struggle and the sadness surrounding death, overlooking the possibility of a gentle transition and emotional resolution. Knowing that this potential for peace exists, that your fear might naturally dissipate as you get closer to the end, can be incredibly comforting. It reminds us that the end of life is not just a physical event, but also a deeply personal, emotional, and spiritual journey, and one that holds the possibility of finding a quiet calm. This potential for peace and acceptance is often linked to the relationships we hold dear. Which brings us to the third hidden truth about death after 75. Your relationships with loved ones might change in surprising ways, and communication now is incredibly important. Now, let's talk about something that is both a source of great comfort and sometimes, surprisingly, a source of tension during the end of life: our relationships with family and friends. We often picture a serene scene at the bedside, everyone holding hands, whispering loving farewells. And yes, that beautiful picture can happen. But here's the third hidden truth, and it's a complex one. Your relationships with loved ones might change in surprising ways during this time, sometimes growing incredibly closer. But sometimes old issues or unspoken feelings can surface, creating distance or difficulty. Communication, now, while you are healthy and able, is incredibly important. When someone is nearing the end of their life, it's a time of intense emotion for everyone involved. Love and support are paramount, but the stress, sadness, and fatigue can also bring buried feelings to the surface. Old family dynamics, unresolved conflicts from years past, different ideas about care or how things should be handled. All of these can become amplified. It's not uncommon for misunderstandings to arise, or for family members to struggle with their own grief in ways that impact their interactions. Sometimes, the dying person might withdraw emotionally as they focus inward, which can feel like rejection to loved ones. Other times, the sheer logistics of caregiving can put a strain on relationships. The hidden part here is that we often expect things to be smooth and harmonious simply because it's the end of life. But the reality is that family is complicated, and those complexities don't magically disappear. This is why the second part of this truth is so vital. Communication now matters immensely. Talking about your wishes, your feelings, your values, and even your fears while you are well can pave the way for much smoother and more emotionally connected interactions later on. It's about having those difficult but necessary conversations about your end-of-life preferences, who you want making decisions for you if you can't, and even what kind of farewell you'd hope for. But it's also about emotional communication, mending fences if needed, expressing your love and appreciation, sharing stories, and simply being present with each other. Leaving things unsaid can create burdens for both the dying person and their loved ones. Opening these lines of communication earlier can help clear the air, strengthen bonds, and ensure that the focus during the final stages is on love and support. not unresolved tension. It allows your loved ones to feel more prepared and less stressed about making decisions on your behalf, freeing them up to simply be with you. It's about creating a foundation of understanding and connection that can withstand the emotional intensity of the end-of-life journey. Having these conversations is perhaps one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and your family. And this brings us directly to the next critical hidden truth, which is about agency and control. This leads perfectly into the fourth hidden truth, which is incredibly empowering. You have more control over how you die than you might think. And planning your care and wishes makes a huge, tangible difference in your experience and that of your loved ones. Many people feel like the end of life is something that just happens to them, that they lose all agency and are at the mercy of medical systems or circumstances, while certain medical realities are unavoidable. The truth is, you have significant power in shaping your final journey, especially in terms of your medical care and personal preferences. The hidden aspect here is that this power requires taking proactive steps before you are in a crisis situation. This involves creating documents like an advance directive, which includes a living will and appointing a durable power of attorney for healthcare. A living will allows you to state your preferences regarding medical treatments if you are unable to communicate them yourself. Things like whether you want to be kept on life support, receive artificial nutrition or hydration, or receive pain medication, even if it might hasten death. Appointing a durable power of attorney for healthcare means designating a trusted person to make healthcare decisions on your behalf if you are incapacitated. Without these documents, decisions might fall to family members who are unsure of your wishes, potentially leading to conflict, guilt, or treatments you wouldn't have wanted. Having these conversations and documents in place lifts a huge burden off your loved ones. They aren't left guessing or arguing amongst themselves during an incredibly stressful time. They have the clarity and authority to advocate for your stated preferences, ensuring that you receive the care you desire. Furthermore, choosing where you want to receive care is a huge part of this control. As we touched on earlier, understanding that hospice care can be provided at home, allowing you to be in familiar surroundings with loved ones, is a powerful option. It's about deciding whether you want to prioritize aggressive treatment until the very end, or shift the focus to comfort and quality of life sooner. This isn't an easy conversation to have with your doctor or your family, but it is a conversation that grants you enormous control over your final experience. It's about making your wishes known and legally documented so that they can be honored. This act of planning isn't morbid. It's an act of self-respect and love for your family. It ensures that your voice is heard when you can no longer speak, and it provides a roadmap for those who love you to follow, giving them peace of mind that they are honoring you. Taking these steps is perhaps the most practical and impactful way to exercise control and ensure dignity at the end of life. It prepares everyone involved and shifts the focus from potential confusion and distress to honoring your journey. Now, let's bring it all together with the final hidden truth, which speaks to the very core of what becomes important in our final chapter. So we've talked about managing discomfort, the possibility of finding peace, the importance of communication with family, and the power of planning your care. These are all crucial pieces of the puzzle, and they all tie into the fifth hidden truth, which is often the most beautiful and perhaps the most overlooked as you near the end of life. The focus often shifts dramatically from doing and achieving to simply being. Simple comforts and the presence of loved ones become the most important things in the world. We live in a society that constantly emphasizes productivity, accomplishments, and staying busy. We measure success by what we do, what we acquire, how active we are. This mindset is deeply ingrained. But as physical energy declines and the end of life approaches, that whole framework often falls away. The desire to do things diminishes, and the simple act of being takes precedence. This means that small things that we might have taken for granted throughout our lives suddenly become incredibly significant. A comfortable blanket, a favorite piece of music, a familiar scent, the taste of a favorite food, the warmth of the sun on your skin, holding a loved one's hand. These simple sensory comforts can bring immense peace and pleasure, and perhaps most importantly, the presence of people you love becomes everything. Not them needing you to do anything, not them needing you to entertain them, but simply them being there, sitting quietly beside you, sharing a memory, reading aloud, or just being in the same room. Their presence is a profound comfort, a reminder of the love and connection that has defined your life. The hidden aspect of this truth is that we often don't value being enough in our busy lives. We think we need to perform or achieve to be worthy of love or attention. But at the end, all that matters is the love given and received, the simple human connection. Understanding this truth can change how you spend your time. Now, it can encourage you to prioritize moments of simple presence with your loved ones, to savor small comforts, and to let go of the pressure to constantly be doing something. It reframes the end of life not as a deficit of activity, but as a rich period focused on connection, comfort, and simply being. It's a powerful reminder that your worth isn't tied to your accomplishments, but to the love you share and the life you have lived. Embracing this truth allows for a gentler, more focused, and potentially more peaceful final chapter, where the quiet moments hold the most value. So, we've explored these 5 hidden truths that discomfort can often be managed, that peace is possible even if you fear death now, that open communication with family is vital because relationships can be complex, that planning gives you control over your care, and that simple presence and comfort become paramount. These aren't easy topics, I know, but understanding them can genuinely ease the fear and anxiety that surrounds the end of life. Especially as we get older, it shifts the focus from fear of the unknown to the possibility of navigating this final stage with dignity, peace, and connection. Remember, knowledge is empowering. Talking about these things, making your wishes known, and focusing on what truly matters, love, comfort, and connection, can make an immeasurable difference for you and for those you cherish. Don't shy away from these conversations. Have them with your loved ones, with your doctor, with a trusted friend or advisor. Think about what matters most to you. Your life has been a unique and valuable journey, and understanding these truths can help ensure your final steps are taken with grace and peace. I encourage you to share your thoughts or feelings about this in the comments below. It's a conversation we all need to have. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And subscribe to the channel for more content that aims to support and empower you at every age. Remember, living fully includes preparing thoughtfully for all of life's stages. Live your best life at every age,